"I'll do anything," my CEO whispered, not to me. I thought she was untouchable. Cold. Perfect. Unbreakable. But one secret. One child. One night. And suddenly, I was the only one standing between her, and losing everything. Before we begin, tell us in the comments, have you ever had a moment where someone strong suddenly broke in front of you? And where are you watching from? Don't forget to like and subscribe for more real emotional stories. Let's begin. I'll do anything. That was the moment everything changed. I wasn't meant to hear it. I was just outside Charlotte Vaughn's office, holding a contract she needed to sign before morning. The floor was nearly empty, lights dimmed, the city glowing beyond the glass walls. And then her voice, low, strained, nothing like the woman I knew. "I don't care what it costs anymore. I'll do anything." Silence followed. Then a breath that sounded like it hurt. Charlotte Vaughn didn't sound like that. Not ever. For 3 years, I'd worked as her executive assistant. She was the kind of CEO people feared before they even met her, sharp, controlled, impossible to read. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't hesitate. And she definitely didn't break. But something in that room was broken. I should have walked away. Instead, I stayed. And that was my first mistake. To understand why, you need to know how it started. My first day, I showed up early, 12 minutes early, actually. Thought it mattered. She glanced at me once and said, "You're late." I thought she was joking. "I'm early," I replied. "No," she said, already signing documents. "I needed you before you arrived." That was Charlotte. No small talk. No kindness. Just expectation. The first months were brutal. Her standards weren't high, they were impossible. She noticed everything. Timing, tone, hesitation. If you made a mistake, she didn't yell. She just looked at you like she'd already replaced you in her head. I told myself I didn't like her. But people like Charlotte, they don't let you stay neutral. You start noticing things. Like how she skipped meals during stressful days. How her grip tightened slightly when calls didn't go her way. How everything about her, her voice, posture, clothes, felt like armor. And then one night, I saw what was underneath it. She had fallen asleep at her desk. Just like that. No warning. No control. Her head rested against her arm, papers scattered around her. Without the sharpness in her eyes, she looked younger. Exhausted in a way that didn't belong in boardrooms. I don't know why I did it. I took off my jacket and placed it over her shoulders. Adjusted her morning schedule. Turned off the lights. Left. The next week, she paused mid-sentence and said, "You moved my calendar." I braced myself. Yes. A second passed. Thank you. That was it. But from her, it meant something. After that, things changed. Not openly. Just, quietly. Coffee waiting when I hadn't slept. Shorter meetings after late nights. Once, during a snowstorm, a message, "Stay home. Roads aren't safe." No explanations. No acknowledgement. Just, care. And then came the moment that confirmed everything. I got a call about my mother's medical bill. Paid. Completely. No name. No explanation. Just gone. I knew before I even asked. Later that day, I found a note on my desk. "Take care of your family, Ethan. That is never a weakness." I looked up. Through the glass, Charlotte was on a call, calm as ever. But for a split second, she met my eyes. And I understood. I never thanked her. I didn't know how to thank someone who saw everything you tried to hide. That's when it stopped being just a job. That's when it became something dangerous. Because somewhere along the way, I started to care about her. More than I should have. Which is why, standing outside her office that night, hearing her say I'll do anything, I couldn't walk away. The door opened. She looked at me, composed, perfect, except for one thing. Her eyes. Red. "Why are you still here?" she asked. "I heard you," I said. A pause. "You weren't supposed to." "I know." She stepped aside. On her desk were documents I'd never seen before. Legal papers. School reports. A child's drawing. My chest tightened. Charlotte followed my gaze. And for the first time since I met her, her voice wasn't steady. "My sister died," she said quietly. Then added. "She left behind a daughter." And just like that, everything I thought I understood about Charlotte Vaughn was gone. I didn't say anything right away. I just stood there, staring at the drawing on her desk. A small house. 2 stick figures holding hands. And a third one, drawn slightly apart. "Her name is Lily," Charlotte said. Her voice had that same control again, but thinner now, like it could crack if pushed too far. "How old is she?" I asked. 6. 6. I looked back at the papers. Reports. Evaluations. Words like withdrawn, acute stress response, nonverbal episodes. "She doesn't speak," Charlotte added quietly. That hit harder than I expected. "Since your sister." I didn't finish. Charlotte nodded once. She was there. The room went still. I didn't ask for details. I didn't need to. Some things don't need explanation, you can feel the weight of them just by the silence they leave behind. "I've been trying to get custody," she said, stepping past me into the office. "The court doesn't think I'm suitable." I almost laughed at that. "You run a billion-dollar company." "That's exactly the problem," she replied. "They think I don't have time. That I don't know how to." She stopped herself. "Care." She didn't say it. But I heard it anyway. "And do you?" I asked gently. That was the wrong question. Her expression hardened instantly, like a door slamming shut. "This is not your concern, Ethan." There she was again. Charlotte Vaughn. Untouchable. Controlled. But now I knew what was behind it. And I couldn't unsee it. "You said you'd do anything," I said quietly. "Does that include asking for help?" Silence. For a second, I thought she'd throw me out. Instead, she turned away. "She arrives tomorrow," Charlotte said. "Emergency placement. The foster arrangement failed." "Tomorrow?" I repeated. "Yes." She picked up the drawing from the desk, holding it carefully, like it might fall apart in her hands. "I don't know how to do this," she admitted. That was the first real truth she'd ever given me. And it changed everything. The next evening, I saw her again. Not in the office. At her house. I hadn't planned to be there. But around 6, she texted me, no greeting, no explanation. "Are you available?" I hesitated for maybe half a second. Then, yes. Her address led me to a quiet street lined with tall trees and glass-front homes that looked more like statements than places people actually lived. The door was already open when I arrived. Inside, the house was spotless. Too spotless. Like no one had ever truly lived there. Charlotte stood in the center of the living room, still in her work clothes, as if she hadn't moved since she got home. "She's here," she said. I followed her gaze. At the far end of the room, near the window, sat a little girl. Small. Still. Watching everything without moving. Lily. She held a stuffed rabbit tightly against her chest, her fingers gripping it like it was the only thing keeping her anchored. "Hi," I said softly, crouching a few feet away. No response. Her eyes flicked to me, then back to the floor. "She hasn't spoken since she arrived," Charlotte said behind me. There was something in her voice I'd never heard before. Not fear. Not exactly. Something closer to helplessness. I glanced back at her. The most powerful woman I knew, standing there like she didn't belong in her own home. "She's scared," I said. "I know that." "No," I replied gently. "She's waiting." Charlotte frowned. "For what?" I looked at Lily again. "For someone to stay." The words settled heavily in the room. Charlotte didn't answer. But for the first time, she didn't argue either. And that's when I realized. This wasn't just about a child. This was about whether Charlotte Vaughn knew how to be something she'd never allowed herself to be before. Not a CEO. Not in control. Just someone who stayed. Lily didn't speak. Not that night. Not the next morning. Not even when Charlotte tried, carefully, awkwardly, to ask if she was hungry. She just sat there, small and quiet, like she was waiting for something none of us could see. Charlotte handled it the only way she knew how. With structure. At exactly 8 a.m. breakfast was on the table. At 9, a scheduled call with a child therapist. At 10:30, a rearranged meeting she refused to cancel. Control. Order. A system. But Lily didn't respond to systems. She barely touched her food. Didn't react to questions. Didn't even look at Charlotte unless she thought no one would notice. And Charlotte noticed that. I could see it in the way her jaw tightened, the way she checked her phone like she needed something familiar to hold on to. "You can't manage this like a company," I told her quietly in the kitchen. She didn't look at me. "Everything can be managed. Not this." That got her attention. For a moment, something sharp flashed in her eyes. Then it faded. "Then tell me what to do," she said. Not as a challenge. As a question. I glanced toward the living room, where Lily sat by the window, her stuffed rabbit pressed tightly to her chest. "Nothing," I said. "Just, be there." Charlotte exhaled slowly, like that answer frustrated her more than any problem she couldn't solve. That evening, I stayed longer than I should have. We didn't talk much. There wasn't much to say. Charlotte sat across from Lily with a book open in her hands, reading quietly. Her voice wasn't perfect, too precise, too controlled, but she didn't stop. Lily didn't react. But she didn't leave either. And that felt like something. Around midnight, I finally stood to go. "You don't have to stay," Charlotte said, without looking up. "I know. But I didn't leave right away. I don't know why. Maybe something in the air felt fragile. Like if I stepped out, something would break. I was halfway to the door when I heard it. A sound. Soft. Sharp. A gasp. I turned instantly. Lily was standing in the middle of the room, her small body trembling. Her eyes were wide, terrified. And then she ran. Straight past me. Barefoot. Out the open door. "Lily." Charlotte's voice cracked as she shot up from her chair. I didn't think. I just moved. The night air hit cold as I stepped outside, scanning the dark street. For a second, I couldn't see her. Then. Movement. A small figure near the edge of the sidewalk, running without direction, like she was trying to escape something that wasn't even there. "Hey, hey, it's okay," I called, keeping my voice low as I followed. She didn't stop. Her breathing was uneven, panicked. Like she was reliving something. Lily, I said again, slower this time. You're safe. The word hung there. Safe. She stumbled. Just slightly. And that was enough. I reached her gently, dropping to one knee so I wasn't towering over her. She tried to pull away. But then froze. Her fingers tightened around my sleeve. And for the first time, she looked at me. Really looked. Her lips parted. A sound came out, small, broken. Don't. I felt something in my chest shift. Don't what? I asked softly. Her eyes filled with tears. Don't leave. The words barely existed. But they were there. Behind me, I heard Charlotte stop. She had followed us. And now she stood a few steps away, completely still. I looked at her. She looked at Lily. And for the first time since I'd known her, Charlotte Vaughn looked afraid. Not of losing control. Not of failing. But of something much deeper. Of not being enough. I turned back to Lily, gently steadying her. I'm not going anywhere, I said quietly. And then, after a brief hesitation, Charlotte stepped closer. Slowly. Carefully. Like she was afraid one wrong move would make Lily disappear again. I'm here too, she said. Her voice wasn't perfect. It wasn't controlled. But it was real. And Lily didn't run. After that night, something shifted. Not all at once. But enough. Lily started staying closer. She still didn't speak much, only a few quiet words here and there, but she stopped pulling away when Charlotte entered the room. Sometimes, she even watched her. Careful. Curious. And Charlotte. She tried. Not perfectly. Not naturally. But consistently. She cancelled meetings. Left her phone in another room. Sat on the floor beside Lily instead of across from her. It was awkward at first. Painfully so. But she stayed. And Lily noticed that too. For a few days, it almost felt like we were building something real. Something fragile, but real. Then the knock came. It was early afternoon. I was in the kitchen, helping Lily draw, well, sitting beside her while she drew, which felt more important somehow. Charlotte opened the door. I heard her voice shift instantly. Professional. Cold. Can I help you? A man answered. Calm. Measured. Charlotte Vaughn. Yes. I'm Daniel Mercer. Family Services. Everything in the house seemed to go still. I stepped into the hallway just as he handed her a folder. I'm here regarding the custody review, he said. There have been concerns. Charlotte didn't move. What concerns? A report was filed, he replied. Questioning your ability to provide a stable emotional environment. My stomach tightened. That's not valid, Charlotte said sharply. It's enough to initiate reassessment, he answered. We'll need to evaluate the home situation. Effective immediately. Behind me, I felt Lily freeze. She hadn't heard everything. But she felt it. Kids always do. Charlotte's grip tightened on the folder. Who filed it? Daniel hesitated just long enough to confirm what we both suspected. A family member. Of course. Charlotte exhaled slowly, forcing herself back under control. When? This morning. And if I fail this reassessment, she asked. Daniel met her eyes. Custody will be reconsidered. Taken. He didn't say the word. But it was there. After he left, the house felt different. Colder. Like something had been pulled loose beneath it. Charlotte stood in the center of the room, the folder still in her hand. They think I can't do this, she said. It wasn't anger. It was something worse. Doubt. I stepped closer. They don't know you. They don't need to, she replied. They just need proof. Her eyes moved toward Lily. Still sitting on the floor. Still holding that rabbit. Still watching. And I realized something. This isn't about them, I said quietly. It's about her. Charlotte didn't answer. But her expression changed. Softer. More uncertain. What if I fail her, she asked. That question didn't belong to a CEO. It belonged to someone who had already lost too much. You won't, I said. You don't know that. I do. She looked at me. Really looked. And for the first time, there was no distance left in it. Just fear. And trust. At the same time. That night, everything came to a head. Lily woke up crying. Not loudly. Not screaming. Just quiet, broken sobs from the next room. Charlotte froze when she heard it. Like she didn't know if she was allowed to go in. I touched her arm gently. Go. She hesitated. Then moved. Slowly. Carefully. Like stepping into something sacred. I stood in the doorway, watching. Lily sat curled on the bed, shaking. Charlotte stopped a few steps away. Then, after a moment, she sat down beside her. Not too close. Not forcing anything. Just, there. I'm here, she said softly. Lily didn't respond right away. But she didn't pull away either. Seconds passed. Then Lily shifted. Just slightly. Closer. And Charlotte hesitated for only a second. Before placing her hand gently over Lily's. Not perfect. Not practiced. But real. And Lily held on. I leaned against the doorframe, something tight in my chest loosening. For the first time. This felt like a family. Not because everything was fixed. But because no one was leaving. The evaluation was set for Friday morning. 3 days. That's all we had. Charlotte approached it the way she approached everything: preparation, structure, control. The house became even more organized. Schedules written down. Notes reviewed. Every possible question anticipated. But this wasn't a boardroom. And deep down, she knew it. The night before the evaluation, I found her standing in the living room, staring at the same drawing Lily had made days ago. 3 figures. One still slightly apart. I don't know if I can prove this, she said quietly. You don't have to prove it, I replied. You just have to live it. She let out a small breath. That's harder. Yeah, I said. But you're already doing it. She didn't answer. But she didn't argue either. The next morning, Daniel Mercer returned. This time, he didn't come alone. A second evaluator. A clipboard. Quiet observation. They watched everything. How Charlotte spoke. How she moved. How she reacted. Lily sat on the floor at first, holding her rabbit, silent like always. The questions began. Ms. Vaughn, how have you adjusted your work schedule? What support system do you have in place? How do you respond to emotional distress? Charlotte answered every one. Calm. Clear. Controlled. But I could see it. She was trying too hard. Trying to be perfect. And Lily was watching that too. The evaluator glanced down at her notes. Does the child feel safe with you? Charlotte hesitated. Just for a second. And in that second, everything hung in the balance. I'm trying to give her that, she said. Not perfect. Not rehearsed. Just honest. And then Something unexpected happened. A small movement. Lily stood up. Everyone turned. She walked slowly across the room. Not toward me. Not toward the window. Toward Charlotte. Charlotte didn't move. Didn't breathe. Lily stopped right in front of her. And then reached out. Her small hand gripping Charlotte's sleeve. Tight. Like she had that night. Charlotte's composure broke. Not visibly. Not dramatically. But I saw it. Her hand trembled slightly as she placed it over Lily's. "I'm here," she whispered. Lily looked up at her. And this time, her voice was clearer. "You stayed." The room went silent. The evaluator lowered her pen. Daniel Mercer watched closely. And Charlotte, for the first time, didn't try to be strong. She just nodded. "I will," she said. And that was enough. They left an hour later. No promises. No immediate answers. Just a quiet, "We'll be in touch." The waiting was the hardest part. But somehow, it felt different now. Less like fear. More like hope. 3 days later, the call came. Charlotte stood in the center of the room, phone pressed to her ear. I watched her face carefully. The pause. The breath. And then, her shoulders dropped. Not in defeat. In relief. When she hung up, she didn't speak right away. She just looked at Lily. Then at me. And finally said, "She stays." That was it. No speeches. No dramatic moment. Just 2 words that changed everything. Life didn't become perfect after that. Charlotte still worked too much sometimes. Lily still had quiet days. And I still didn't know exactly where I fit in all of it. Until one evening, standing in that same living room, Charlotte turned to me and said, "You don't have to leave." I understood what she meant. Not just for the night. For everything. I looked at Lily, sitting on the floor, drawing again. This time, all 3 figures were standing together. No distance. No space between them. And I realized something. Family isn't what you're given. It's what you choose to keep. I stepped closer. "I'm not going anywhere," I said. Charlotte nodded once. Lily didn't say anything. But she didn't need to. She just reached for both of us. And this time, we held on. Thanks for watching. If this story meant something to you, please like and subscribe for more unforgettable stories about love, resilience, and second chances.